Now, of course, there are some things that I want to do that are customized, and to do that, I'm going to go into the chart of accounts itself. I'll move up to the list menu on the top left side of the screen and choose the very first option, which is the chart of accounts, or you can use Control A. Now you get to see everything that QuickBooks created on our behalf. On the left-hand side, you see the name of the account, like accumulated depreciation, furniture and equipment, payroll liabilities, and so forth. If you go all the way over to the right, you can also see the type of account that it is. For example, a fixed asset, a current liability, equity, income, COGS, expenses, and so forth. On the far right, you'll actually see totals. Because this is a brand new file, all of those say 0. So this is the basis of which everything that you do in QuickBooks will happen, even though you probably aren't going to do it in this window. You'll instead write invoices or receive payments or write checks. But this is where all of the accounts and that double entry bookkeeping occurs. So what else can we do? Well, maybe I need to create some other accounts. As I move over to the left-hand side, I can see that when it comes to our income, we have consulting income. We also have some sales for support and maintenance, and shipping and delivery income. Well, that's okay, but I don't really do just that. We provide training, and there are several types of training we provide. So I would like to create some specialized accounts to track the different types of training we do. For example, we could have virtual training, classroom training, and CBT. Now, all three of those are different types of training, but they're subcategories. You don't have to create details. But if you do, then when you do your reporting, you'll be able to tell not just how much money you made overall, but how much money you made for each type of service or product that you sell. Adding the accounts is actually easy. I'll move down to the bottom left corner of the screen, click the Account button, and move all the way up to the top and click on New. You'll also see the keyboard shortcut Control N, which is kind of intuitive, N for New. When I do this, it says choose one account type. Remember that each account in the chart of accounts can only be one type, so this is kind of important. This one is actually fairly simple. It's money that I'm going to make, so it's an income account. Notice the others are all listed here as well. Once I get this selected, I click Continue. This is where I get to put in the details of my account, starting off with the account name. Now you do want to be fairly specific and consistent when you do this. I'm going to call this Training Income. I'm going to use my Tab key instead of the mouse to move through the form as well. When I press Tab once, it actually gives me some examples, so if you're not sure how to name things, you can see examples there. And then it moves me down to sub-accounts, which I'm not using yet, and then to a description. The description can be important because when you are using different types of forms, for example, like your P&Ls, it will use the account name by default. If you enter a description, then the description will be used instead. I'm going to leave this blank because training income is actually self-explanatory. Likewise, I don't need to have a note. But the next thing that I get to is tax line mapping. Now, you don't have to do this initially, but trust me, when you get to the end of your year and you're ready to do your taxes, it's really, really helpful to have all of your accounts already assigned, because then QuickBooks can basically print off a report or even merge with other tax preparing software that will put all of the numbers into the right places. I'm going to click the drop down, and I'm also going to remind you that when we set up this company, it was a sole proprietor. Therefore, you'll notice the tax lines have to do with Schedule C. Schedule C is for sole proprietors or some LLCs. Well, this one's actually pretty easy. What I'm doing is income, and that simply goes under gross receipts or sales. Once I get this finished, I could go to Save and Close, or if I want to do more items, I can do Save and New, and that's what I'll do. Remember that what we just created is training income. The next one that I need is a specific type of training. We do CBT, virtual, and classroom training. So I'll start by entering CBT training. This is when we get to use some of the other features that we didn't use last time. I'll press my Tab key to get to sub-account and press my space bar to check that. And then I get to move to the drop-down. What I'm doing is actually creating an overall account for all training, and then I'm creating sub-accounts for the different types of training. This will help me be able to see an overview of all of my training income as well as what income I made for specific types. When I click on the drop-down, you'll see that we can see everything that's an income account currently in the chart of accounts, and if I hadn't planned ahead, I actually could add a new account right now. Well, I already have training income, so we'll give that a click. We won't put in the description or the notes, but once again, we will assign this to gross receipts or sales on my Schedule C. At this point, I'll go ahead and do one more Save and New because I want to have a couple different entries here. And this time we'll do virtual training. You get that it's pretty simple at this point. We will also make this a sub-account. And we'll use the drop-down to assign it to training income. You can now see the hierarchy we're creating in the list. We'll assign it to Schedule C gross receipts. And this time we'll finally do a save and close. This brings us back to the chart of accounts, and if we look clearly, we can see that it is actually indented. Training income is at the first level, and then underneath it we have two subcategories, the CBT and the virtual training.